I drastically changed my diet in perimenopause and it literally changed my life. I tried cutting calories and exercising more, and I was still gaining weight. What I did or used to do to drop the weight was just not working anymore. But with a few simple eating adjustments, I not only managed to reduce the belly fat, I also managed to reduce some of those pesky perimenopause symptoms. You know what I'm talking about. Want to know how I did it? Well, today I'm dishing it all with you so you too can take back control and start feeling amazing in your body again. Today I'm sharing how I drastically changed my diet in perimenopause and why you should too. And make sure you stay till the end because you'll want to get your hands on the exact blueprint you need to eliminate your perimenopause belly for good. Hey gorgeous, it's Ashanti. I help women over 40 get back to feeling amazing in their bodies. And if you want to learn how to overcome the hormonal weight gain over 40, grab my freebie, the Fat Loss Over 40 Guidebook. I've linked it below. Now, the first step I took to drastically change my diet during perimenopause and lose that belly fat, I focused on a macro-based whole foods first approach. Well, to keep it simple, we want to focus on a balanced meal plate of proteins, fats, and carbs from high fiber foods, focusing on meals that are made of real foods rather than fake foods. So this includes incorporating protein-rich foods into your meals. It helps preserve lean body mass, and we know we start losing lean body mass in our 30s and 40s, and more lean body mass means a higher metabolism. Protein is essential for maintaining a healthy body weight because it can actually keep you fuller for longer, which means that you're not as hungry in between meals. Now, each person's protein needs varies. Things like body size, activity levels, eating patterns. But generally speaking, you'd probably want to aim for about 20-30 grams of protein per meal. But if your goals was to redefine and reshape your body and incorporate more resistance and cardio-based training to do that alongside a diet approach, what I would recommend is to aim for about 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Say I weigh 50 kilos. I would need to times 50 kilos by 2.2 to get it into pounds, and that's roughly 110 pounds. Okay, so if I was eating 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, that means that I would need to eat roughly 110 grams of protein per day. I put the equation up here so you can do it for yourself. Now, when you try to bump up your protein, this can come from plant or animal sources. A mix of lean proteins such as fish, poultry, beans, legumes, grass-fed beef, and organic eggs are a great source of protein to add to your diet and give you a variety of amino acids that your body needs to build muscle. When you eat protein, it keeps you fuller for longer. And the mechanism behind this is that protein-rich foods have a higher thermic effect, which means your body needs more energy to break down and digest the proteins. So more calories are needed to burn it as fuel for your body. Now, a good rule of thumb is to aim for about 30 to 40% of your calories coming from protein. And again, this really depends on your current state of health, your performance goals, your aesthetic goals. So if you're new to this, maybe stick to the 20 to 30 grams or the lower end of the 30 to 40%. Now, next up in the whole foods first approach, we want to get enough carbohydrate from fiber-rich foods in fruits and vegetables. Now, if you're going to make one single change in your diet to manage your symptoms as well as your waistline during perimenopause, it would be to add more fiber in your diet because fiber does so many great things for our bodies. It helps with our digestion, maintains blood sugar levels, helps to reduce cholesterol, and especially feeds the microbes or the beneficial bacteria in your gut to promote better gut health. And better gut health means better hormones. Did you know that taking care of your gut is actually essential, not just for gut health, but for your hormonal health? When bacteria breaks down the food in your gut, it basically creates short-chain fatty acids, which can help regulate insulin sensitivity and improve your metabolic health. And we know from previous videos that insulin sensitivity increases as we age, especially as a function of a lower fiber diet. Now, if you haven't checked out the video on sensitivity affects perimenopausal weight gain, I've linked it here if you want to go check it out. Now, when it comes to fiber, we want to focus on at least 25 to 35 grams of fiber per day. Primarily, this will come from non-starchy fruits and vegetables. Non-starchy fruits and vegetables are generally low on the glycemic index. Some great examples include avocado, strawberries, raspberries, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, and kale. By eating a wide variety of fruits and vegetables that are lower in starch and lower on the glycemic index, you're also going to get the benefits of soluble versus insoluble fiber. The main difference between that, and you need both, is that soluble dissolves in water and insoluble does not. So insoluble helps to bulk up the stool, absorb the water, and basically help the stool pass more easily. Nobody likes talking about stools, but it's important. Just think of fiber as your BFF. To spread your fiber out throughout the day and get your recommended daily intake, think of creating meals like for breakfast, high protein, high fiber smoothie. Include things like a good quality protein powder, collagen, blueberries, raspberries, spinach, nuts and seeds for healthy fats and blood sugar regulation. And for lunch, think about like a big salad with some good quality protein, add 2 to 3 more non-starchy, low GI vegetables, and a delicious fat-based dressing of olive oil, balsamic vinegar, avocado, and some nuts and seeds. And for dinner, something as simple as pesto, salmon baked in the oven with grilled vegetables, and even some baked or steamed potato. Fiber is your ally in preventing constipation. And the reason why it's so important for us women in perimenopause and just women in general is because it helps with estrogen clearance. And if you're not going to the bathroom regularly, chances are that you're not eliminating estrogen effectively from your body, and you're recirculating that estrogen, which promotes estrogen dominance. And this is what makes us feel more PMS-like or experience those perimenopause symptoms. Now, next up in the whole foods first approach, we've got fat. Now, healthy or good fats are generally from plant-based sources called unsaturated fats. These are found in things like avocados, nuts, seeds, plant-based oils such as avocado oil, olive oil, and unsaturated fats are also found in high-quality fish. Unsaturated fats are essential for reducing the inflammation in the body and beneficial for heart health and overall health. Now, the amount of fat, again, varies from person to person, but for us perimenopause women, we probably want to look at something about 30 to 40% of our calories coming from fat, good quality sources, of course. And to help you with bringing all of this together, in the beginning, it can be important to actually track what you're eating so you know how much protein, fat, and fiber you're having in your meals and throughout the day. It is really easy to underestimate our calorie needs on a day-to-day basis. It's really important to focus on a food-first approach and getting enough protein, fat, and fiber. Now, you don't need to track forever. It can be really useful in the start of your journey so you can see what you're doing if you're meeting your calorie as well as macro needs. Now, there are some really useful and free apps like Cronometer and MyFitnessPal. My favorite and my recommendation is using Cronometer, as it more accurately tracks not only your macros such as protein, fat, and carbs, but also your micronutrients such as your vitamins and minerals, which become more important as we age. And especially in perimenopause, we want to focus on things like omega-3s, zinc and vitamin C, dietary fiber, magnesium, B3, B9, B12, and our calcium needs. Now, I did a whole video on the best supplements to use during perimenopause. I've linked it here and it goes into this in so much more detail. Now, I know tracking your macros and calories is not for everybody. My suggestion is just to try it for 3 to 4 days to see where you're at and see what your calories are now and what foods you're eating and how much of the protein, carbs, and fats you're getting from your diet and whole food sources. Let me know in the comments below if you want me to do a video on how to use Chronometer in order to track your food and do this for yourself. Now, the next step I took to drastically change my diet was to reduce inflammatory foods. Inflammation is a huge factor in not just adding to your hormonal weight gain, but it just affects how you look and feel in general. I did a whole video on that. I'm going to link it here. Go check it out. Now, when it comes to inflammatory foods, there are a few culprits. These are my top 5. Number 1 is foods that are high in sugar and high in high fructose corn syrup. Most foods in this category include things like candy, chocolate, soft drinks, cakes, cookies, donuts, sweet pastries, and most cereals. There are so many reasons why eating a diet that's high in sugar, but also high in artificial sugar, is not great for your body. I'm not going to go into great detail about it in this video, but if that's something that you desire, please let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to make one. But here's a little snippet for you. Sugar is about 50% glucose and 50% fructose, whereas high fructose corn syrup is about 45% glucose and 55% fructose. And if you eat a diet that is highly processed and you eat foods that come from boxes and packets, chances are there are added sugars, which is linked to higher inflammation and higher risk of disease. Plus, when you eat a diet that is highly processed or high in sugar, you are also affecting your blood sugar regulation and your insulin sensitivity. Eating more sugar basically makes you crave more sugar, creating this cycle that's hard to break. And when you eat more sugar, it means that you push out other things that your body needs, like the protein, fat, and high fiber, which actually help you feel fuller for longer. Now, next up, we also have refined carbohydrates. Refined carbs have most of their fiber removed. And as we know, we need more fiber in our diet, especially to help with our gut microbiome, which helps with our hormones. Research suggests that refined carbs may encourage the growth of inflammatory gut bacteria that can increase your risk of obesity and inflammatory bowel disease. Refined carbohydrates are also higher on the glycemic index, so they're generally high GI than unprocessed carbs, and high GI foods basically raise blood sugar levels more than low GI foods. Now, the next culprit is excessive alcohol. Now, alcohol is a toxin to the body, whatever way you want to spin it. It's nice to have, but it's not necessary, especially if your goal is to get healthy and lower inflammation in your body. And during perimenopause, it can actually worsen your symptoms such as hot flashes, night sweats, insomnia, anxiety and depression, and impact your sex drive. It not only adds extra calories, but calories that your body can't metabolize properly, making it harder to lose weight during perimenopause. So if you're struggling with the perimeno belly and perimeno symptoms, alcohol ain't doing you any favors. Next up, we have fried foods. Things like French fries, mozzarella sticks, fried donuts, egg rolls. But the more important thing is that the act of frying these foods increases the compound called AGEs, which stands for Advanced Glycation End Products. These AGEs are what drives the inflammation and chronic disease. Now, this doesn't mean you can never have a burger, fries, a donut, a glass of wine, a piece of cake. That's not what I'm saying at all. I personally follow the 80-20 approach. So 80% I'm eating a whole foods, macro-based diet, and 20% I'm just eating whatever the heck I want and whatever fills my soul. When you start eating a macro-based, whole foods first approach, you are basically giving your body exactly what it needs when it comes to your vitamins, your minerals, and your macros. You tend to feel fuller for longer, you crave less salt, less sugar, and comfort foods that keep you in this cycle of eating for your emotions rather than eating for what your body needs. If you want to know how to do that, I have created the Fat Loss Over 40 guidebook. I've linked it in the description below. Now, the next step I took to drastically change my diet during perimenopause was to eat from light to heavy. What I mean by this is eat meals that are lighter on my digestion from the start of the day, and as the day progresses, largest meal or the meal that is harder to digest at the end of the day. Now, you always need to make sure that you're eating enough for your body's needs. So this could mean having a protein-packed smoothie in the morning or an omelette with some veggies, a high protein salad with some mixed greens, or perhaps a warming, nutrient-dense soup. And for dinner, maybe it's a green curry chicken with some veg and mashed sweet potato on the side. When you eat like this, it helps to manage your cravings, but you also have more consistent energy throughout the day. You're not feeling like you're on a sugar high and then feeling low. Your energy is more consistent throughout the day. Now, the next step I took was to intermittent fast for the first part of my cycle. Now, an excellent resource for this is Dr. Mindy Pelz. She's like the OG pioneer of fasting for women, especially in perimenopause, menopause. And if you're not regularly cycling, which means you're not getting a regular period, you can choose to maybe sync your cycle with the moon, which is roughly in tune with our menstruating cycle of like 25 to 35 days. Or you can choose to just do it for a calendar month. Now, with intermittent fasting, there are so many ways to do it. For me personally, I do it in the first half of my cycle. So when I'm in my follicular phase, just after I finished menstruating up until that ovulation stage. So this is roughly 10 days or so. I choose to do the 12-8 method. It's the easiest and probably the most gentle way of getting into fasting. What this means is that you would be fasting a minimum of 12 hours, then you have an eating window of 8 hours. So this is based on a 24-hour cycle. The easiest way to do a 12-8 fasting cycle is to keep track of your last meal. So for example, if I had dinner at 7 p.m., I wouldn't eat again until 7 a.m. the next morning. So I fasted for a good 12 hours from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And then I give myself an eating window from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. I generally like to eat breakfast a little bit later. Sometimes it's not just 12 hours. I can extend it for 14 to 16 hours. So then I'm definitely having dinner with my family and I'm not just stopping my eating window at 3 p.m. when there's a good amount of time up until I have to go to bed. Now, I would say that fasting from anywhere from 12 to 16 hours is a good amount of time for women who are cycling and not cycling. Just remember to keep it in your follicular phase. If you're new to it, just ease into it. So you might want to do it on alternative days or a couple of times and just see how you go. It's important to remember that you are an individual. Some women thrive on it, some women do not. If you do have any thyroid issues, you might want to ease into it or just stick to a smaller fasting window. Whilst you're fasting, you can still drink water. The main thing is not to eat or drink calorie-rich foods. So things like tea, water, even black coffee, but I don't do black coffee on a fast. It just affects my cortisol. I don't recommend it. It can also mess up your gut and your digestion. For me, intermittent fasting gives my body more time to rest and digest. I do suffer with more digestive issues than some, and I think when it comes to intermittent fasting, you have to listen to your body. And I think giving it a period of time where you allow yourself to get into that phase of resting and digesting, you don't feel so heavy and burdened by food. Sometimes we can just be going through our day, not even thinking about what we're doing, how we're eating. We're not mindful with our food. And this gives you a really great opportunity to be mindful and appreciate what you put in your body and how you're eating. I find it very therapeutic and it helps really with my digestion and some of my digestive issues. Now, the next step I took to drastically change my diet during perimenopause, and this is probably one that we all know, but don't always remember, and that is to stay adequately hydrated. This is an absolute no-brainer, but it is amazing just how dehydrated our body can get. The easiest way to overcome this is to always have a water bottle with you. And if you drink a lot of caffeinated beverages or you live in an environment that is quite hot and humid, or you're very active, your hydration needs increase. As a general rule of thumb, drink at least half an ounce to an ounce of water for each pound that you weigh every day. For example, if you weigh 200 pounds, this would equal 100 ounces of water. Try to stage it out through the day to keep your hydration levels up. The next step I took to drastically change my diet during perimenopause was to eat for my cycle. Probably one of the most important steps that I took. This is for all women because it helps you understand what your body needs at different stages of your menstrual cycle. Now, we know the average cycle is roughly about 25 to 35 days. And if you're not regular, now is a great time to be tracking your cycle, not just for the length, but also the symptoms that you might be having month to month. I recommend using an app called Flow. It's free, really user-friendly. And if you don't have a regular cycle, again, you can use the calendar month or you can use the moon. A great app to sync your cycle with the moon is called the Moon app. It's also free. Now, the cycle syncing method is actually more of a lifestyle change to support your hormones with diet, exercise to align with the stages of your menstrual cycle. The idea is that by changing these factors during each stage of your cycle, you're able to meet the hormonal needs of your body at that stage of your cycle, making this whole process of being feminine and your feminine flow more empowering with less symptoms. One of the main things to understand is that if your diet doesn't supply enough of the energy or the materials to make the hormones that you need, it'll prioritize the production of stress hormones first because they're actually essential for survival. This leads to unhealthy fluctuations in your hormonal levels. Luckily, a well-balanced diet that's high in nutrients literally is your best tool for creating balanced health as well as a balanced cycle. If you've ever noticed that you're really hungry during certain days of the month, or you tend to have like major cravings for carbohydrates, sweets, salty things, then you're experiencing your body's fluctuation of nutritional needs. Now, the next step that I took that is not necessarily diet related, but so important for hormone balance and helping my hormones just work better for me, and that's committing to a better sleep routine. Basically, if you're not sleeping well, you're not healing well. Sleep is the only time your body truly gets to rest and repair. You can eat all the right foods, exercise in all the right ways, take all the supplements, and still gain weight if your body perceives that it's under stress. And the best way to alleviate stress is to prioritize sleep. Your body thrives on regular sleep and wake up times. It helps with your circadian rhythm and it helps with your cortisol cycle. What I like to practice that has a huge impact on my sleep and energy and mood is no food 1 to 2 hours before bedtime, screens off at least 1 hour before bedtime. Blue light emitted from screens has a huge impact on your cortisol levels and your circadian rhythm. Now, when it comes to stress management, elevated stress levels commonly result in hormonal imbalances because basically your body uses progesterone to create cortisol. Cortisol is an important stress hormone. In perimenopause, you're already dealing with wacky fluctuations in hormones, especially estrogen and progesterone. So when you experience higher levels of stress and produce more cortisol, you start running low on progesterone and you're creating an imbalance of progesterone and estrogen. I was always burning the candle at both ends. But once I prioritized my sleep routine and it was a non-negotiable, it was really what helped me most with my stress management. It helped me eat better. It helped me with digestion and perimenopause belly. Now, the next step that I took to drastically change my diet during perimenopause was I added more perimenopause supplements into my diet because you can't just be perfect all the time with your diet alone. And I knew I needed some key vitamin and minerals that I just can't get from diet changes alone. For example, like vitamin D. Vitamin D is actually a hormone and a lot of women are deficient in it, especially in perimenopause and especially women of color, like myself. I also don't love eating a lot of animal products, and I also find it hard to digest. I feel sad for the animals. Your gut health can dramatically change during perimenopause. You start producing less stomach acid. Stress affects your digestion. So adding digestive enzymes helps me to break down my food, digest my food, so I can actually absorb the nutrients back into my body. I also take other things like omega-3s, zinc, and vitamin C, magnesium glycinate to help me fill some of the nutritional gaps that I know I have. As we spoke about before, if you're tracking your food like in Chronometer, you can actually see just not only your macros, but also your micros and where you might need some nutritional support. Now, I created a video on the best supplements for women in perimenopause. I highly recommend you go and check that out here to help you decide which ones you might need to support you on your journey. And as promised, if you want to get your hands on that blueprint to overcome the hormonal weight gain over 40, grab my Fat Loss Over 40 guidebook. I've linked it in the description below and it goes through all of this. Now, if you found this video helpful, let me know in the comments section and give it a like or subscribe. Till then, check these videos out and I will see you in the next one. Bye.